you mentioned Lauryn Hill earlier, and I kind of wanted to transition from there, but I know we were talking about some other stuff.
Hmm.
The BT Hip Hop Awards is getting a lot of scrutiny from Kodak Black because of the song of the year. They gave it to Mulatto over his. His song was, it was a bigger song. It was out longer, more notable, and he felt like there was a lot of quote unquote woman worship going on with the BET Awards. And he's like, I mean, to paraphrase it, don't give somebody the award because they're a woman, let them earn it. And, it's the same award show where Trina got, the I Am Hip Hop Award, all of those things. And maybe he's seeing some things behind the scenes that we're not able to actually see. What I was going to say when you brought up Lauren, and I had a conversation with a friend of mine earlier today about the same subject, and Lauren's name came up. And I just feel like, and I've said this, we haven't seen a female MC, and I don't know if this is fair or not, that's at Lauren level or anywhere close to it since her. And I don't think it's one of the things that, I don't think that I ain't trying to listen to female hip hop shit. I think it's more of a level that we've seen a level like Lauren. And like, if we want to talk about in a vacuum, no one's really even close to her from a skill set standpoint. And we can't say that about any of their male counterparts. Like, some people like Jay, some like Nas, some like Big, some people would say Cube, some people would say Pac, whatever. Things are comparable. But I think that she set a bar so high that it really makes it tough for others. It's a Serena issue, I think.
No, Serena has comps. She
She
has
does have
Steffi and
comp.
Martina.
She does.
Serena has Steffi and Martina.
She does. But I think
So
I don't think any. I'll put it this way: I don't think anybody ever had any quorums with. I don't want to say supporting Lauren, but nobody was passing up on Lauren's skill. None of that stuff. Have you ever heard somebody be like, "Man, I ain't listening to that Lauryn Hill"? You know what I mean? Like,
it's ridiculous.
you know what I'm saying?
That is absurd.
So, like, her being a woman didn't affect her at all because she
That is
was that
absurd.
great.
Never heard that once in my life.
Yeah. Have you ever heard somebody like you putting on Lost Ones, man? Man, I don't listen to that, man. Turn that off.
No, never.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing
Ever
with
in
Light and
life.
Latifah and them. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate just a little bit and try to
No,
submit
go
something
ahead,
to you.
please.
Everything that you're speaking about Lauryn Hill is true. But I could reframe that and work it and tell you, well, shit, most of the men ain't been that good since her either.
It's true.
That's what I mean when we're talking, like, she's like a phoenix, Mike. Like, you see that once in your lifetime. Like, she is a MC.
Okay.
Like, just the MC. She is an MC the caliber of a Black Thought, a Nas, a Rakim, a Mos Def, a Andre. Like, whoever your favorite rapper is, she is just as skilled and good on the microphone as they are.
Mhm.
Period. End of story.
Yeah. That album
So she
gave
is
us
the one.
everything.
She is the one of all one of ones. Because after saying that, Mike, well, she sings better than most of the women sing too. So what the fuck are you gonna do with that? Well, she raps better than 98% of the guys and sings better than 95% of the girls. She's the phoenix, Mike. And so putting anything in a comp with her isn't fair to anybody. It's not. She doesn't have a comp. That is where she is incomparable. She does not have a comp. Like her gifts are as such that if had she made music, she should be getting mentioned with Prince and Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder. That's who she really is.
Right.
Like, that's her comp in terms of talent and gifts. So she's somewhere no female rappers have ever been, and probably not going. We need to accept that shit. That's why it hurts so bad that she didn't make material, Mike.
Yeah, she was a one-on-one.
She's the one of all the one of ones.
Well, many people, I guess, people from a certain generation only saw Nicki basically dominate from a mainstream standpoint, right? And so let's just use Nicki as an example. Does Nicki have a blueprint? No pun intended. I know she made the pink print, but I'm just gonna name albums that came out after Lauryn, right? Do we have a Get Rich or Die Trying? Do we have a blueprint? Do we have a It's Dark and Hell is Hot? On that side of things. Do we have a Good Kid, Mad City? And if we don't, why not? You know what I'm saying?
What, from Lauryn?
No, from women in hip hop, period. From a mainstream
Oh.
standpoint.
What do we need for that? Okay, so like, let's just briefly like go into, well, what would it take for that to happen?
That's my question, and it's like, I don't know.
Like I've always told you, like Funkified and hardcore were probably the closest thing to me that I felt like got acceptance from the males, and you could still ride to it. Because I think for the guys, this is what I mean about it's such a funny thing. Because when you're dealing with hip hop, you're dealing with men and their egos.
Well, I think, all right.
And there's always been this thing about rap being about machismo, and how tough are you riding around listening to a female spit?
Well, I would like for the ladies in here to chime in as well, because I think that women listen to the Blueprint, they listen to Get Rich or Die Trying and all that stuff too. What do y'all think about how comparable some of this stuff is? CJ Kidd with the super chat says, I'm just speaking of the last track on the album, regardless of if it was a part of the concept or just a pure song. So, as far as It Ain't Hard to Tell, Last Call, Long Kiss Goodnight have been mentioned. What about Scenario? It was Nobody That Somebody Kills You. Scenario is a great closer too. Jay Short says, you got to keep that BK versus Queens poll open. Okay, we'll see. Mad Max is in the building.
Must be losing.
He says, look the way the girls go crazy still for Nicki with her attitude issues. I can't say there's been no female MC since, not close to Lauryn Hill. So again, Mad Max is younger. He thinks that Nicki has reached that plateau. Our man with the super chat says, peace. So y'all gonna review Cormega's Realist 2. Solid album. His song Glorious with Nas is a top 10 song of the year. We are going to talk about that album. CJ Kidd says, who will win in a versus with the Roots and Fugees matchup? Maybe you guys can do that. The Roots got way too much material for the Fugees, in my opinion. Mad Max says, you can't tell no Nicki fan who is basically in my generation that Pink Friday isn't a classic on the level of those albums. Mike, they'll tell you that it's better than Illmatic. Like, okay. So, all right, let's do this. You made a list. You have made this list. Top 50 hip hop albums all time. How far are we going to get before we get to a female rap album? I mean, I'm just trying to keep everything balanced. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I get it. That's why some people try to slide the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill in there, because had she rapped for about half of that album, you would probably have it somewhere in the 7 to 15 range. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what I mean. Like her not doing that kind of like set this a certain type of way.
I think from a mainstream standpoint, it was on Nicki to make that album. Not Miseducation, but that album that ranks high. You know what I'm saying? Like, because does Nicki have a better album than the Carter 3?
I mean, it's hardcore probably, Mike. Hardcore would probably be the one that would rank first.
I'm with that.
And I would tell you that it probably wouldn't crack the top 40, definitely.
Yeah.
And so I think somewhere between 40 to 65, you could drop hardcore in there somewhere. And there's enough of the music, impact, singles, bar work, classics there, because it has what great rap album should have. Well, she can rap her ass off. Kim has always been a great rapper to me. Like always. Like Lil' Kim's always been a dope MC.
Somebody mentioned something that I think probably set off a generation as well. people saw that Rolling Stone put Cardi B's Invasion of Privacy at number 16. They saw that
Album's just not that good.
they put Missy Elliott's what was it? It wasn't even Missy's best album. It was like Miss E So Addictive at like number
Missy's
8.
So Addictive.
And see that type of stuff, I hate to say it like this, but it doesn't further, women in hip hop. It makes it look like for some people that you're giving those spots away. You know what I'm saying? Unearned, unfortunately.
No, I just don't think that the Missy Timberland thing is rap or hip hop. I told you, it's its own thing, Mike.
I love Missy,
but it's like
I literally put my money down and bought those albums. Those albums ain't top 50 hip hop albums all time. None of them.
Right, like Super Duper Fly. Like how can you put Super Duper Fly next to something like Black on Both Sides?
Exactly. And I think that the closest, I think that if we had to rank one of her albums, I guess is the highest, I would say Under Construction is the closest to a hip hop classic. That because it's a very hip hop oriented album.
It's a rap
album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's singing on
there, and the melodies are rap driven.
Right, and she made it a point to be a rapper on that album. Work It was a huge record, even though we don't really hear it as much anymore. At the time, Work It was huge.
It was everywhere.
Yeah. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, Coop, you had to mic your album. How many mics are you giving your album? That's a conflict of interest.
It is. I'll tell you what, I felt like the one that I didn't release, that I've dropped a track or two of, like pieces of, like I felt like that was a 4.5. I knew it was at least a 4.5 when I made it, and I'll stand by that. Yeah, I'll stand by that music. So the one that people haven't heard was a 4.5 in my opinion.
Mad Max of the super chat says Kodak, though, was right, by the way. Who played that Latto record? Even he said Glorilla should have gotten that if his record did.
Well, okay, see, now here's the thing. He's not just talking up the side of his neck. He's providing some evidence. He's going to the biggest anthem of this past summer. Like this summer that just like is literally ending. Well, F&F was the biggest banger, period.
Right.
Like, period. Like, male or female.
Yeah.
And so it's not like...
You there, Coop? Kind of pause for a second. Let me go to these super chats. CJ Kidd. Yeah, I see you now. You back.
Okay.
You said it's not like he was talking out the side of his neck.
He's not talking out the side of his neck from the perspective that he's providing you with some context about what he feels like maybe should have been chosen if he wasn't chosen, and there's some validity to the statement.
I feel like BET probably, I hate to say it like this, they probably promised him that award for him to be this upset about that. Because the thing is, let's just be real here. Artists aren't showing up to these award shows to not win. They're not showing up to perform and get you ratings when they can go out there and perform and go get some money to not win an award. So they have to tell them something to get them there. And I think he was probably told that he was going to win that. Maybe not by them directly, but maybe somebody on his team, whatever.
No, and I understand that, and I respect that. That does not mean that the vitriol has to be aimed at Latto, for one. And also, too, what is she supposed to do? Because it's like she's supposed to give the award back. So,
CJ Kidd says, if Illmatic was the best, where does It Was Written rank in the all-time list? Where did you have It Was Written on the all-time list?
I think I had it somewhere late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, wow. NDU Jam says, my favorite rappers of all time is 1, Lauryn Hill, 2, Mos Def, 3, Biggie, 4, Jay, 5, Nas. Unknown Name says, problem with female rap isn't machismo, but the content the same way most hip-hop fans can't relate to M's content. The average hip-hop fan can't relate to the content of most albums. Il Nana was the last.
Yeah, she had stuff on there like The Promise with Havoc. Once again, Havoc showing up and making the best song on somebody's album. Told you, he's notorious for that stuff, but...
Jay Short says, I think Eve had the depth, skills, street cred, and crossover appeal to be the GOAT female MC. not technically as good as Lauryn Hill, but she was just as popular. I agree with that. I've
She
always
wasn't
said
as popular. That's absurd. Stop doing that.
no. He said just as popular. Yeah, I think. Well, I've always said that I
But
feel like
yes,
I think Eve could have been the prototype of the modern female MC on a mainstream
yes.
level. She can
How
make
about
the hits.
this?
She wasn't oversexed. She had substance. She can make a hit record like "Love Is Blind" with in-depth subject matter in that way, and this is a dope record. It might be one of the best storytelling records from a female MC. I would say her, that and Poor Georgie.
I was actually saying that's actually the modern day Port Georgie.
Yeah.
Um, get out my head. But here's what I would tell you: what she really is, what Eve is. Eve was the prototype. She was the modern day prototype. Remember how we used to have the prototype cars?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's how a car should look and should be. It's like for all of us that heard her, saw her, the way she carried it, her ability to straddle the sexy in the street.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Very much like how Biggie straddled the hit making and the street record making. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And so, no, she was the prototype because here was what it was. Like, she was super, super beautiful, but the bar work was there.
Yeah.
The songwriting was there. And so you had no reason not to buy in on all
The
levels. You didn't have
content
any
was
reason not to
there
buy in.
too. The content was there, and I'm gonna say this, and I love Foxy and Kim, and they made some very impactful records.
They don't have content.
They
like
don't have
you.
the content that Eve had.
No.
At least they
No,
didn't
I agree with
display
you.
it. You know what I'm saying? And Eve put
It
it
would have
in
been a
singles.
wonderful transition from their era, like to go from Lil Kim and Foxy like into Eve is kind of how it should have gone, and it kind of did. It was just super brief, like
I think again we talk about Hollywood taking artists. I mean, Eve ended up getting a sitcom, and it was over.
And didn't she get like she had her own clothing line or like fashion line for a minute too, right?
I don't remember that, but I remember the sitcom, and I remember her acting, her being in barbershop. It was like,
No, she had a clothing line too, Mike.
She
She had a
probably
designer
did.
line or something like that. Yeah, I feel like she did.
CJ Kid with the super chat says, where does the Nas demo with Understanding, Deja Vu, etc. ranking Nas's discography as a body of work? Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we know what you're talking about. I mean, he has an unreleased catalog that's unparalleled. And you know what? Did you like his feature on Cormega's album today?
I really enjoyed it, but not to the level that everybody else did. It made me think that I need to hear it again.
He sounds good.
I mean, you heard the run. I don't know. You want to know what? This is what I mean. Is like it's like magic.
Yeah,
so
man.
it's like you heard the way he was rapping on Magic, though, right? So it's like I'm like, okay. It's like no, that was good. That was great. It's a dope verse. You know what I'm saying?
It's like
you heard how he was rapping. You heard how he's rapping on Magic, though, right? It's like, you know what I'm saying?
It's like 96 all over again. Like our expectations for Nas are like,
right. It's like
through the roof.
86 Jordan. It's like, but did you see him just like go get like 50 points on like 22 shots and didn't take a three? It's like, did you just see that?
Mad Max with the super chat says, well, Kodak and Latto also got a beef. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they got some bad blood going on.
Why? From what? I'm not privy.
Not to get too gossipy, when she did that interview, I think it was before her album, she made a comment about a rapper, I guess, wanting her to fuck for a feature or something. And she didn't say the rapper's name, but everybody assumed it was him. And he said it wasn't, and you know what I'm saying? And I guess she never cleared that up, and that's kind of where all that started.
Oh, so he big man.
Yeah, so.